Welcome to another edition of the MMA RunDown. I'm Drew Shannon.
I'm Albert Cameron.
And we're back here in the studios. Last week, kind of an interesting episode.
It was a nice way to tour State College, that one location where you're standing. But hey, it's good to get out and good to travel. We're glad to be back.
It was easy for us because we live in State College, and but it was it's nice to get back into the studio and do what we do. Do what we do. Yeah. I guess. Coming up, we've got our news and notes segment. Of course, Albert, we want to thank our sponsor.
Absolutely Friendlies of Altoona, who believes enough in us, and we want you to go visit them right now. Well, no, after the show's over, go visit them. Tell them the MMA RunDown sent you.
Exactly. And be sure to get connected to us through social media, Facebook, Twitter. We are all over social media. You can get connected. Albert?
I like having friends. And I want you guys to be my friends. Let's all be friends. Drew and I are friends.
Yeah.
We want to be your friends too.
Yeah, we do.
Right. Coming up in today's episode, we got news, notes. We got another Albert Cameron original. We're putting this guy in the hot seat. We got the Spotlight Fight. We got the Rundown Lowdown.
Wait. You putting me in the hot seat?
You're going in the hot seat, friend. We're gonna shoot some rapid fire questions out for you, and you got to answer them.
Okay.
Alrighty. Stay tuned.
I'm scared. Welcome back to the MMA RunDown. It's that time of the show again.
News and notes, Drew. Let's get it started.
It's go time. Charlie Gathers. You all know Charlie Gathers, right? Yeah. He'll be fighting Brazilian Thiago Carfi at WCC 6. Would that be WCC 5?
It is WCC 6 because 5 was canceled. When that was going to be the headline main event, Gathers versus Saltzman. The WCC is going ahead and promoting. Just as the UFC did, they're promoting it as WCC 6, not WCC 5.
Okay. Gathers will not be cornered by his regular crew. What's up with that?
The Dignan and Brumbaugh fight team, again, they're strength in numbers. And whenever someone from Dignan and Brumbaugh fights, they always come as an army. Unfortunately, they can't get all the wheels turning. They're not going to be able to make the trip down to Tamaqua, Pennsylvania. But Charlie Gathers is still fighting Carfi. They're gonna fight at pro. I believe they're fighting at bantamweight. Charlie Gathers is getting into a better space in his head. That loss to Tyler Salzman really put things in perspective for the Madman. So now he's trying to get everything right, trying to get himself oriented, get it back into that winning place of mind. So he's not concerned with not having his corner. He'd love to have these guys there. But the Dignan and Brumbaugh fight team won't be able to make the trek. Charlie Gathers is still coming to fight.
All right. ONE FC expands their Asian network by striking a deal with Glory. ONE FC fighters now will have access to events all over Asia. It's a pretty big deal.
Do you know why that's a big deal?
Why is that a big deal?
Because now the guys from ONE FC, the guys from Glory, the guys from Dream are going to be able to fight in this big network of fighters. It'd be like if the UFC signed a deal with Strikeforce, with Bellator, with the World Series of Fighting, and all these guys were able to get together and just fight whoever the next contender was. So now Asia's kind of jumped up in that the way they're doing things, because now they're going to be able to have those cross promotional fights that we in the United States don't quite have yet. Asia's put out a lot of big stars, the Sakurabas, the Aokis, all those guys, and now Asia is getting their footing back. Because Dream and Yarnouk and Sengoku, they kind of went out of the way. Dream's coming back. ONE FC signed this huge deal with Glory. Now Asia's they're taking their market share back with force.
All right, Olympian versus Olympian? Probably not. But Sarah McCann says a fight with rowdy Ronda Rousey doesn't make sense for her yet.
We know a couple things. One, Sarah McCann just signed with an MMA management company. Mm-hmm. Two, Ronda Rousey just got signed by the UFC, and I believe she's going in as the women's bantamweight champion. They're not giving her a title fight. 3, Miesha Tate just signed with the UFC, so now that tells us that the UFC is taking the women's division seriously, especially bantamweight.
Right.
So now they're trying to gather all these talents, and it only makes sense for Sarah McCann to come into it. She hasn't fought a whole lot, if at all, but she's an Olympic wrestler. So she's got those same chops that a Jeff Blatnick did, that a Rulon Gardner, that a Brock Lesnar was an amateur wrestler, not quite an Olympian, but she's got chops. So now Sarah McCann, they're kids on the internet are talking, hey, let's put Tate against Ronda Rousey. Well, absolutely. That was a great fight. We need to rematch that. McCann versus Rousey. Sarah McCann wants to get more momentum, more cred build up before she steps to the cage with the rowdy one.
All right, Cage Warrior Fighting Championships used to be voluntary PED tests for their Rosie Sexton versus Sheila Graf final, if they're able to find a sponsor for the $6,000 anti-doping test.
$6,000. Well, and the reason it costs $6,000 is because they have to start doing the test 8 weeks before the fight starts. So now if I remember doping correctly, it's taking good blood out of your body and storing it so that right before you fight, you put it back in and your blood's fresher. So you're getting more oxygen. So they need to do testing like 8 weeks before that. And there's a lot of stuff going in, especially with like testosterone replacement therapy.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the form of PEDs that really might not be PEDs, that might really be PEDs, that are kind of ethically gray. So the Cage Warrior Fighting Championships, they're trying to put this really positive spin on it. But it's $6,000. And I don't really believe that Rosie Sexton or Sheila Graf are going to be fighting for $6,000, let alone being able to come up for $6,000 for the PED testing. But the Cage Warrior Fighting Championships, if they can find a sponsor to do it, they're going to put the legitimate spin on it.
All right, that's our news and notes for this week. One additional note: Bellator going to be changing a few things around.
Bellator will now be allowing championship rematches. The way Bellator does things there, they have a tournament. They have a champion from a previous season, and these guys fight for a shot at that champion. That's just the way it works. Now, if, let's say, Ben Askren defends his title, and it was close, whoever Ben Askren fought will now possibly get a rematch at the title without having to go through the tournament again. Pretty big news for Bellator, because now we're gonna see those fights we'd like to see happening. We're gonna see them much quicker.
All right, coming up in the next segment, I'm apparently in the hot seat.
We're gonna talk to Drew about how he would handle random disasters when it comes to calling fights. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love it.
It's going to be interesting. Stick around. Welcome back to the MMA Rundown, and we do have a bit of a correction to make.
Yeah, I can't be right all the time. We did some investigating between segments, and the WCC next event, December 8th in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, will be WCC 5, not WCC 6. Charlie Gathers will still be fighting. He'll still be taking on Thiago Carfi. It'll just be 5, not 6.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right. This is all you.
Mr. Smarty Pants.
All right.
If you know Drew, you know the sound of his voice. You've heard him on commercials on TV, especially in the Complete Devastation Cage.
What? Yeah, because I don't have a radio career at all.
You know, he's good. But Drew is very professional. He's very, very good. So now I come up with a question I always wanted to ask a ring announcer. What would you do in certain situations if the feces hits the fan? I think would be the appropriate way to put that. Okay? So no, I'm going to give you a scenario. You're going to tell me how you would handle it on the spot to try to take care of it.
All right.
You ready?
Go.
What do you do if a microphone dies while you're in the middle of the cage?
We do have backup microphones that are available, and I would call for the backup mic immediately, and we would get that in. I know it's about the only thing you could really do. I mean, me trying to shout above, about 1,000 screaming fans is a little difficult to do, and it takes a toll on my voice. But yeah, we just call for the backup mic. Okay,
so there is a contingency.
There is a contingency.
Okay,
and they have plenty of fresh batteries to supply both mics. So
yes. Well, I think another thing you're really good at is going from one segment to another, one fight to another. What do you do in the event of a miscue and you're still trying to be smooth about it?
In the event of a miscue?
Yeah. So like, let's say we're on the rundown, and we're getting ready to go into the rundown lowdown, but we end up going to a spotlight fight. Like, if we were doing that live, how would you handle that to be smooth?
Wow.
Do you acknowledge that there was a miscue, or you just kind of play it off?
We just keep going.
You keep going.
You never acknowledge, and this is something I've learned in radio, in broadcasting, never acknowledge your mistakes on the air or in the middle of something. Just keep going. Let it roll. Because if you draw attention to it, everybody else is going to draw attention to it as well. If you just let it go, odds are it just, it's water under the bridge. Nobody cares.
Okay. You're in the middle of the cage doing a post-fight interview. or you're even on TV or in the air, and someone decides to let go with a string of obscenities. How do you stop that?
Pull the microphone away and end the interview immediately. That's all there is to it. I mean, if it's in the middle of the cage at one of our events, I'm probably just going to let it go. If it's on live television or if it's on the radio, you got to pull the mic away and you just got to end it right there, because I mean, you can get in deep trouble for obscenity violation and stuff like that. That's why when we do, when I have the fighters on and when I have people on my radio show on Quick Rock, and I hate to break down the fourth wall, as it were, but sometimes you gotta. We always pre-tape just to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen. So it's always about preparation when we do interviews like that. But if it's live, anything goes, and you just got to be prepared for that.
What about a wardrobe malfunction?
What do you mean wardrobe malfunction?
Well, I mean, like, again, how do you address that situation? Like, there's a complete, like, Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake in the middle of a cage. What do you do to try to mitigate that situation?
Like, if I'm in the middle of the cage and one of the fighters has a wardrobe malfunction?
Yes.
That's why I got a jacket. Help them out, take the jacket off, just give it to them, and send them the dry cleaning bill later.
Okay.
If it's a ring girl, yeah, same thing. And wow. Go ahead.
All right. You experienced a wardrobe malfunction.
I go to the corner closest to me and curl up in a ball and cry because it's probably the end of my career.
I told you, ladies and gentlemen, Drew is a professional in everything he does.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you handled the pressure with that very well.
Thank you.
Doing broadcasting, again, is really tricky because there are so many unknowns. You like to think that everyone's going to bring their best behavior, but it doesn't always happen. And I thought it'd be a lot of fun to get Drew's take on it because, again, I have learned so much from him as far as broadcasting goes. And,
thank you.
And so thank you, Drew, for your take on that. When we come back, we're getting into the spotlight fight. We're going to be seeing... How do you pronounce it?
I believe I pronounce it as Jarrale Butts.
Because you called the fight at CD4.
Right. It's the first name that we're having trouble with.
Okay.
Versus Mark Robert MacDonald. That's coming up next in our Spotlight fight here on the MMA Rundown.
It's the MMA Rundown on ABC 23, and now it's time for the MMA Rundown Spotlight fight.
Jarrale Butts fighting independently, who's probably one of the more veteran guys who fought tonight. 2 wins, 3 losses, no draws. Tonight's mixed martial arts action, Jarrale Butts has drawn Mark MacDonald, fighting at a Team Rusty cage. Has twice as many fights as what Jarrale Butts has had. 4 wins, 6 losses, no draws. Standing 5'6". These guys are equal height, reach advantage. Really can't give it to one guy or another. We'd like to thank everyone for their promotional consideration. Big thanks to everyone at Go Time, Snap Fitness, ABC 23, the Urban War Zone, which I'm told has excellent paintball. I'm a little too soft to try to get in there myself, but with enough coaxing it may end up happening. RobLynn.org, Rob Lynn taking all of our great photos tonight, and Damon Printing. despite what these guys may think, no one who has lost tonight needs to go home and feel bad about their performance. They've all been great competitors. Personally, from where I'm sitting, I'm looking forward to always seeing these guys fight again. I'm sure everyone at Complete Devastation Mixed Martial Arts agrees with me, and we will see them again in future fights.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next bout is scheduled for 3 rounds. Introducing first, out of the red corner, standing at 5'6", weighing 155 pounds, with a record of 2-3-0, Jarrale. His opponent stands at 5'6", weighs 145 pounds, with a record of 4-6-0, fighting out of the blue corner for Team Rusty Cage, MacDonald.
We're starting off round number 1, Butts versus MacDonald. Let's get her started. Drew, welcome back to the broadcast.
Next to the last fight in the card, gonna wrap up our amateur bouts.
Drew, from the get-go, I am really impressed by the hand movement I'm seeing here tonight. Butts doing in and out. MacDonald. Butts taking him right to the mat early and decisively. MacDonald almost not having the time to secure the guard, but he did. Both these guys are really firing off on all cylinders.
They most definitely are. I mean, just coming out of like a house of fire. And that's the action that these people paid to see.
Everyone in Johnstown is getting their money worth tonight, Drew.
Do you want to mention real quick, our next bout will be July 14th at the Blair County Convention Center. Wow.
Big slam. And
and another one!
Drew, shades of Rampage Jackson.
Unbelievable.
In his pride fights.
Both men back up to a vertical base. Once again, I was just saying, our next bout, Complete Devastation 5, July 14th at the Blair County Convention Center.
Butts just throwing hands and MacDonald answering with his own.
These guys came to fight.
Incredible hand movement. Like you have to wonder if these guys didn't know about each other before the fight. Like, you know, how extensive they were able to do their scouting. It really seemed. Oh, Superman punch there from MacDonald. These guys.
You got to wonder if they scouted each other prior to this. I mean.
Oh, I'm sure there's a big. Oh, big takedown from MacDonald. It just really seems like these guys have found a mutual rhythm and are just, again, firing on all cylinders, trying to get an advantage that just might not be there for them to take advantage of.
This is the type of fight you normally pay, I would say, 40 plus bucks to see on a pay-per-view. I mean, this is just unbelievable. 10 seconds.
Those knees to the midsection of Butts. Perhaps doing what MacDonald needs him to do and taking the wind out of his sails to try to make him a little more manageable to get a hold of and score the offense points off.
It's the end of the first round. Christy is going to tell us that it is time for round 2.
Now, how do you pronounce Butts' first name? Is it Jarrale?
I believe it is Jarrale.
Jarrale. He doesn't give me a whole lot of opportunity to say his name with the fast-flying action going on here tonight, but
that's fine.
That's just the case. All these fights have been so action-packed and fast-flying and truly quality fights.
Oh, exactly. I mean, when you pay to see a fight at Complete Devastation, you're not paying to see, just wimpy, no action fights. You are going to get your money's worth.
I don't want to use the word lay and pray, but you're not paying to see lay and pray.
That's fine with me.
MacDonald, Butts, dancing around each other, still keeping up the excellent hand movement, the foot movement the fists are flying. Oh, wow. MacDonald was down. Butts could have been called for
tossed him right into the cage.
Butts is imposing his will on MacDonald right now, Drew. It was round 2. MacDonald looks tired, and Butts is getting stronger with every punch he's throwing out there.
Unbelievable. That adrenaline is flowing.
MacDonald's trying to recover, but Butts is just keeping his game so elite that, excellent
Kick to the
front
face.
professional wrestling, I believe they call that the mafia kick.
Is that what they call it?
I'm told.
So you're told.
So I'm told.
I wouldn't know anything about professional wrestling, would I?
I would.
I mean, come on.
We're very proud to have Drew here with us at Complete Devastation Mixed
I'm
Martial
very
Arts.
proud to be here.
Oh!
Wow.
What?
He's...
Well, see, Drew, I had that marked down as a flash knockout.
Yeah, MacDonald looked like...
Almost defeated.
Had those Krispy Kreme eyes going. They were a little glazed.
And once again, it's just imposing his will on MacDonald.
And he just...
But Drew, we need to keep perspective in mind. We're not seeing what the referee is seeing.
Right.
We're seeing a fight that should be over. The referee has a much different perspective than we do. He could be seeing something we're not. But still imposing his will on MacDonald no matter where you're standing. Oh!
Seriously,
10 seconds left. Can MacDonald last the round? He is out.
That's it.
Less than 10 seconds left in the round, and
wow.
Knockout with impressive fashion.
Andrew Correa stopping this fight.
I still don't think that's a bad call from Correa. I think he let the fight go. MacDonald was still intelligent, defending himself in Correa's eyes, but's able to capitalize though ultimately.
Exactly. Well, wait a second. Is it over? Or we're going into round 3?
Saved by the bell.
Wait.
No, that fight is over.
No, she's being ushered out. Okay, I thought there was something happening that I missed.
And again, it's all about perspective. Drew's going to the cage. Again, perspective. We have no idea what referee Correa was seeing. From where I'm sitting, we're seeing a fight that MacDonald's having a hard time getting to his legs.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the official decision. The fight was stopped at 2:58 in the second round. Your winner by TKO, Jarrale.
2 seconds left in the fight, and Jarrale Bites pulled out the W. One impressive fashion, but you know, Mark MacDonald still did a really impressive job. From a fan's perspective, sitting where I'm sitting, I would not mind seeing a rematch between those two guys. I think the guys at Go Time could make it happen, and I think it'd be a great fight to watch. What an excellent back and forth. A very well-deserved victory.
Welcome back to the MMA Rundown. It's time to dip into the mailbag.
But before we actually do that, because we were on location at State College last week, we weren't able to do the rundown. But the last time we were here in studio, we asked you guys, if you could change a rule, what rule would you change and why? And I think the best response we got was from Jeff in Altoona. He said he would allow folks older than 35 to be able to compete. In Pennsylvania, they cannot. There's an age restriction, I think it's between like 32 and 35. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was important because there are a lot of folks who are older than 35 who competed. Ken Shamrock is still competing today when he knows where his luggage is. Randy the Natural Couture was winning titles at near the 40 mark. So I think that in and of itself is very relevant, and I support that cause.
Also, I believe Dan the Beast Severn, they were going to try to get him to fight a Complete Devastation MMA 2. Because of the age restriction, the Pennsylvania Athletic Commission would not allow him to fight.
Right, and that's not us putting the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission on blast or saying that they're wrong.
No, that's not at all.
If I had an opportunity to sit down with Director Serb and say, hey, this is what I'd change, I'm sure he'd listen to me and he would explain why it is the way it is. But I'm just saying, I support that cause.
All right. Getting into this week's question, it comes from RJ in Altoona. He writes, ESPN recently polled their viewers asking what was the most pressing issue in sports. The results were pretty evenly split between all three options: labor relations, performance-enhancing drugs, and the safety of athletes. What do you think of each of these issues? I'm going to pose that question to you, Albert. What do you think of each of those issues?
I think that the first two are very, very relevant for guys who fight in MMA. I'm saying the last one, while always important and should always be a focus, is not as important because our state athletic commissions are so on top of everything they do. All the rules and regulations that the state athletic commissions put out are for fighter safety.
Right.
Labor relations. I hear probably once a month kids getting on the internet saying, hey, there should be a fighter union. Perhaps. I think that all of our guys who step into a cage who fight to entertain us, I think they should certainly feel like their rights and their best interests are being protected. I don't know what that avenue might be because I don't fight.
Right.
Like, I call fights and I love mixed martial arts very, very much. But I've never been in the mindset of a fighter where I don't know which my interests would need to be protected. But I think if a fighter does feel their interests and needs to be protected, that they certainly should be doing so. PEDs, absolutely. I think, now we're getting into the VADA testing, where we have to worry about things like doping and steroids and all that kind of stuff. And, I'm not here to say that I don't think some over-the-counter stuff will produce some positive results in a steroid testing. I'm just saying that if guys are going to engage in, there should be regulation against performance-enhancing drugs, because whenever two guys come to fight, we want to make sure they're on as level playing field as possible. If Drew and I are fighting and my gloves have lead weights in them and I knock Drew out, that's not a fair fight. Drew wasn't on a level playing field, and ultimately I would have beaten Drew on paper, but I wouldn't have really won the contest. So I think that's important.
You wouldn't win the contest anyways, because I'd totally kick. Anyway, no. All right. Well, our question to the fans is: what do you think the most pressing issue is in? Let's try to say that 5 times fast. What do you think the most pressing issue in MMA is? What is the easiest resolution? You can send your response to hosts at themmarundown.com. That's hosts right there at themmarundown.com.
Or if you're watching on YouTube right now, the comment section below.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it for another edition of the MMA Rundown. Action-packed, and next week is no exception.
We got news. We got the last segment of the Rundown's Most Wanted for the year. We're ending things with a bang. We are counting down MMA's 10 biggest scumbags, and you don't want to miss it. We got news. We got notes. All the fun stuff you come to expect. And whenever you go home today, or you're heading out, make sure to stop by Friendly's and tell them we sent you.
Most definitely. We'll see you next time on the MMA Rundown. Have a great week, everybody.